In the record of the soul, I see a clear imprint. You have passed through the fire of testing, through the storm in which many others have fallen. The long, lonely nights were not random. They were the secret training of the Spirit. Each tear was a mark inscribed upon the soul, proving that you have been prepared to enter a new season. I do not see you as a mere survivor. I see you as a diamond forged by pressure into light. You have gone through trial and crossed the fire. That imprint stands bright in the record of the soul as an undeniable witness. I see you standing in the storm, where many have fallen, yet you kept the light and did not let the darkness extinguish it. And that is why I call you the chosen one, for you have proved faith not only in words but in steadfastness with every breath. In the long nights when you thought you were alone, when tears became the only language, there was in truth a sacred current recording each moment as part of a design. And now I show you that the moments that seemed meaningless were the stones laid for a new journey. You thought failure was the end. Yet in the sight of the soul, failure is only a gate that leads you into another level of understanding. As fire does not destroy gold but burns away the dross, your wounds did not make you weak but refined the strength within. And now that light is so radiant that nothing can veil it. I see the difference in you clearly. You did not only survive, you turned suffering itself into proof that you carry a character forged from a sacred source. And with each step, you completed an examination that no one else could take in your place. Those trials were not meant to break you. They were meant to confirm that when a greater charge is given, you will not tremble. And this is what makes you an instrument God can use. You have gone through fire, and the fire could not burn you. You have gone through water, and the water could not drown you. Now you stand in the light of a new time, where your soul is no longer bound by old fear. As I read this record, I see that every event in your life was not accidental, but part of a larger map. Like stars that seem random yet are set in place to form a constellation, so it is with your life. Each loss, a reaction, each time you were pushed to the margins, all are strokes that shape the canvas of destiny. I sense that you have walked a process like Joseph in prison, betrayed by those close to you. Yet in the eyes of God, that was only a layer of preparation. For a throne is kept for those strong enough not to be swallowed by pride. And your humility in days of hardship forged the stature to receive grace. When you thought you were abandoned, you were in truth hidden. When you thought you had lost everything, you were being freed from burdens that were not yours. And when you thought God was silent, he was in truth whispering into your soul that the time had not yet come. Be steadfast. Now that the hour has opened, I tell you that you have not only overcome, you have proved, and this is engraved into the flow of your life as a permanent inscription. I know there were times you asked why you had to pass through so many trials, and the answer I see in the record is that you are appointed to do more than you ever imagined. Souls with small assignments pass through few lessons, but souls with great charge must bear great weight, so that when light is entrusted, they do not fear, but have the strength to hold it. You are among the few. Remember that Scripture has said that though you walk in the shadow of death, you will not fear, and that is the reality you have lived. You have walked through the valley and brought back the light you are now invited to share. When I see you in a spiritual vision, you are no longer one who trembles before the storm. You are a soul that has risen like an eagle, whose wings were renewed by the very winds that seem to destroy. Every tear and every silent prayer has not been lost. All have been gathered into the power that lifts you into this moment. Therefore, stand upright and know that you have passed through, not to boast, but to understand that you are chosen, and this choosing comes with a deep mission, a call to change the world around you. You are not an accident. You are living proof that no trial can destroy the one whom God has appointed to shine. You are not an ordinary person. From within the record of the soul, I have seen the imprint inscribed upon you since the beginning. While many souls were created to pass through the cycles of everyday life, you were destined to step out from the crowd and carry a light that does not belong to this world. That is why even from childhood you felt a difference. You carry within you a flame that cannot be extinguished. Even if you tried to blend in, to hide, or to live like others, that light still rose, sometimes leaving you feeling out of place. But in truth, it was the reminder that you were designed for something greater. When I searched the flow of the Akasha, I saw in each of your cells a sacred map, a design so intricate that no accident could replace it. Every wound you bore, every turn you took, was not the mistake of fate, but the necessary link to bring you to this moment. And now you stand exactly where divine intention wrote you to be. The world may see you as a human with many faults and flaws, but in a deeper sight, those faults are part of your training, so your soul would understand that power does not come from false perfection, but from complete surrender to God. You were not called to wear a garment of hypocrisy. You were called to become living proof that grace can transform anyone. I clearly sense in you a call that has always echoed from deep within. There were nights when you could not explain why your heart was heavy, why you felt you were born for more than to simply live and die. The answer is here, because you are chosen. You carry within you a fragment of memory from the sacred realm, and that memory has urged you to step out of the small mold. The world prepared. When the world told you to shrink, the record shows the Spirit whispered, expand. When others wanted you to be silent, I heard the clear call that you must speak. When circumstances pushed you down, destiny pulled you up. And through all that opposition, your true identity has emerged. Not painted by human hands, but written by the very hand of the Creator. I know there were times you asked, why can I not be like everyone else? Why do I always feel I stand apart? And the answer is because you were never created to be like them. You are a rare link in a great plan, an irreplaceable part of a sacred symphony. If you try to deny that identity, you only make the call louder, like an instrument that cannot remain silent. When the melody plays, I say this with the certainty of vision, you were designed to shift the atmosphere around you. Wherever your steps go, a different energy will shine. The words you speak will reach into the barren places of other souls, for you carry within you a stream of divine love that no force can extinguish. You may think you are small, but in the record, I see you as a lighthouse, and this darkened world needs that light, not for your self-admiration, but so that those lost may find their way. You are living proof that God does not create coincidences. He did not breathe into you for you to live without meaning. He placed in you a special capacity, and the trials you endured were only to refine and awaken that capacity at the appointed time. You may look at your past years and see only losses, but when I look at the same years in the record, I see a chain of lessons, a sacred schooling where you were taught how to endure, how to believe when all collapses, how to stand when your knees trembled. And all of this was preparation for you to become a guide for others. I need you to understand that your identity is not defined by people, not by failure, not by voices of criticism, but by the sacred imprint that only the record of the soul can reveal. And that imprint says you are a chosen soul meant to step out, to reveal light, to live a life not shrinking but flourishing. Like David before Goliath, the world saw only a small boy, but in God's eyes he was a warrior with a mission, and so are you. Others may look at you and see limits, but I see divine strength surpassing all barriers. I see one who was not created to bow down, but to stand and break chains for many. Let this truth become the backbone within you, that you no longer wonder about your worth, no longer search for acceptance in human eyes, For you were inscribed in the eyes of God before the world was formed. You are not an accident. You are evidence of a greater plan, and your identity is immortal light, a light that no darkness can extinguish. The wounds you carry are not signs of rejection, but sacred marks of formation. They are not punishments, but proofs that you were entrusted with the kind of shaping that ordinary souls could not endure. And in the record of the soul, I see clearly that every strike against you, every season of silence, every tear shed in loneliness was in fact the hand of the Spirit chiseling away the unnecessary, shaping the raw stone into a vessel that can contain glory. And when I gaze deeper, I see that the Spirit has never wasted even one of your sorrows. He has collected each of them like drops of oil poured into a lamp, and now that lamp is ready to burn brightly, illuminating the way for others who walk in the night. You must understand that trials are not random chaos. They are carefully measured fires, designed not to consume you, but to refine, like Joseph, who thought the pit was the end, yet discovered it was only the beginning. Every betrayal was a step closer to the throne. Every prison cell, a preparation for wisdom he would later use to preserve nations. Or like David, whose obscurity in the wilderness seemed like neglect. Yet it was there that he learned the songs of trust, the courage of battle, and the intimacy of walking with God. So it is with you. The years you thought wasted were not wasted, but invested. The seasons you thought silent were not silent, but full of hidden teaching. You see yourself perhaps scarred, perhaps weary, but heaven sees you sharpened, strengthened, and ready. When I look at your journey, I see a sculptor's hand. Every blow of the chisel may have hurt, yet it revealed a new dimension of beauty. You once thought you were a broken stone, but in truth you are becoming a masterpiece, and the very pain that made you question has become the proof that you were chosen for something weighty. Trials are not assigned to crush, but to carve. They do not come to strip you of value, but to reveal the value you did not know was hidden. This is why your path has not been smooth, for smooth paths never build strong legs, and easy roads never forge unshakable faith. Your difference is your evidence. A chosen soul must be prepared differently. The fire is hotter, the pressure greater, yet so is the destiny. And when I see your record, I read clearly that the very things you once cursed are now the stepping stones beneath your feet. You thought tears were weakness, but they washed your vision clean. You thought rejection was loss, but it taught you that no human approval is necessary for divine calling. You thought delay was denial, but it was only alignment, making sure you arrived not too early and not too late, but exactly when the door was ready to receive you. Every trial was a hidden classroom, every heartbreak a teacher, every season of lack a lesson in reliance, and now you stand carrying wisdom. You never would have gained otherwise. You see, gold is never left in raw dirt. It is placed in fire. It is struck. It is refined, and only then does it shine. And when I see you, I see one who has been through fire, yet has come forth shining, not destroyed, but multiplied in worth, not diminished, but elevated in essence. For trials did not remove your purpose. They revealed it. The fire did not end you. It unmasked you, showing the depth of resilience within. I tell you, when you were pressed like a seed beneath the earth, you thought you were being buried. But in truth, you were being planted, and the darkness that felt suffocating was the soil of rebirth. The pressure was the push needed to break the shell, and the water of tears was the nourishment that caused roots to grow deep. And when the time was complete, you broke forth, rising stronger, rising taller, carrying fruit. This is the hidden meaning of every struggle you endured. They did not bury you. They prepared you to bloom. And when I look into your future, I see that every scar you carry will speak louder than any sermon. You will stand before others, and they will feel the weight of authenticity, because you have lived what you declare, and that is why your voice will matter. You are not a theorist of faith. You are the evidence of faith, not one who reads only of overcoming, but one who has overcome. This is why your training was hard, because your destiny is heavy. You were not meant for shallow waters, but for deep oceans. You were not meant to hide in shadows, but to stand as a light. So do not despise the shaping. Do not regret the pain, for they were the very fires that proved your authenticity. I see you now like a warrior stepping off the battlefield. Your armor dinted, your body scarred, but your eyes glowing with fire, a fire that says you are ready, you are prepared, you are refined, no longer shaken by whispers, no longer bound by fear, no longer desperate for applause. For you know who sustains you, and you know who called you, and when you step into the doors opening before you, you will walk not as one trembling, but as one certain that every trial had a purpose, certain that every loss was part of gain, certain that every valley was a path toward the mountain. And in this certainty you will walk unshakable, for you have discovered the sacred truth written in the record of your soul, that trials were never your tomb. They were your preparation, and now nothing can stop you from stepping fully into destiny. For you have been forged, you have been refined, and you have been prepared. I see a great river rising before you. It is not drops falling or a meager distribution, but a flood of grace and blessing ready to pour into your life. And in the record of your soul, I read that the prayers long spoken, the desires you once whispered in the dark when no one listened, have all been gathered into a sacred current, preparing to unlock. And now you stand at that riverbank, invited not only to see, but to step in. Many times you thought your pleas were forgotten, that the nights you stayed awake in pain dissolved into nothingness, yet every sob, every tear was recorded in the treasure of God. And this river is the answer, not a small answer, but an abundant one. I clearly sense that this new season is unlike any before, for you have walked through a season of sowing and patient waiting. Now comes the season of harvest, and this harvest is not merely enough to keep you surviving, but enough for you to overflow and become a source for others. For overflow is never meant for one person alone. It is designed to pass through you to other thirsty souls. You must understand that in this current there are three layers. The first is the meeting of the essential needs you longed for. The second is expansion beyond what you imagined. And the third is the outpouring that makes you a channel. And all three are prepared to be released at once. Not on the world schedule, but on the divine timing already appointed for you. I see many stop at the first layer because they only have faith enough to receive what they think they deserve. But you are invited to go deeper, to believe that you are not only given your needs, but given abundance, the kind of overflow that turns your life into proof that God is without limit. Remember, this overflow is not only material wealth, it is health restored, relationships healed, the soul released from fear, and joy that rises above circumstance, all blending together into a life that others will look at and confess there must be a sacred source behind it. I need you to understand this is not a distant dream. This is the inheritance that has always been yours. But for many years, you only saw it through the veil of doubt. Now that veil is being lifted, and the river does not wait for you longer. It is rushing in, and the only thing that can keep you from receiving is the fear that lingers. If you stand at the edge, still worried that you are unworthy, you will only see the water pass by. But if you step in with the conviction that the time has come, that you are called to receive, then each wave will lift you and carry you into a new land. In vision, I see you like a farmer who patiently sowed on dry ground, watered with sweat and tears, waited through seasons that seemed useless. But now the field has blossomed, not in part, but in full. and you do not have storage enough to contain it all. Therefore, in this season, you will learn a new lesson, to learn how to share. For blessing is only truly blessing when multiplied. I see you standing in the narrow room of your past, where you once believed life could only be one struggle after another. But that door is now opening. Light floods in, and you are invited out to see yourself standing before a vast field, before a wide river where there is no limit. When God promised that He would open the windows of heaven and pour until there is no room to contain. It was not a metaphor. It is the reality you are about to enter, but you must believe not with a mind full of doubt, but with a heart that once believed even when there was nothing to hold on to. For that very faith is the key to unlock the flow. I know you have grown accustomed to living sparingly, to defending for fear of loss, but I tell you, this season is a season of courage. Courage to believe. You are called to abundance, courage to receive more than you thought, and courage to give without fear of running dry, for the source never runs dry. Do not look at your hands and calculate. Look at the river flowing and know it does not depend on your strength. It depends on the sacred storehouse, already promised, and that storehouse is infinite. You have passed through the season of lack. You have endured the season of waiting. Now you step into the season of overflow. And in this season, you will not only find joy for yourself, you will become the joy of many. As the river flows through you, let it carry away old fears, old limits, and leave in you a new identity. The identity of one who carries abundance, not by effort, but by inheritance. That was given from the beginning. I see in your eyes a mixture of wonder and joy, for you will realize that everything you once thought was lost was only waiting to return in greater form. And that is the sign that the season of overflow has truly begun. Many wait for a sign, but I tell you, the sign has already been in the faith you have held through the years. When you speak affirmation, when you act as if you have already received, you send a signal into the unseen realm, like a farmer who sows seed with full assurance that harvest will come. You have sown enough, and now the seed is ready to sprout beyond what your eyes can see. You do not need to wait for another sign, because the sign is already in the very faith you have preserved all these long years. In the record of the soul, I see clearly that every time you stood firm and did not give up, it was the confirmation that the promise had already been engraved within you. The question is not when will it come, but when will you have the courage to receive? Because the truth is, the door has long been open, and the key has long been in your hand. You need only to step in when you affirm to yourself, when you act as if what you expect has already come true. You are sending a signal to the unseen, and that signal is never lost. It vibrates in the frequency of faith and draws toward you what was promised. Like the farmer does not stand in the field waiting for the seed to sprout before he believes. He believes first and then the seed grows. You must operate by the same principle. You must believe and act as though you have received, so that the truth may manifest in your life. I see many souls stopping just before the finish line because they always wait for visible proof. They want to see first and then believe. But the record shows that the law of the Spirit is the reverse. You believe first and then it comes into form. So if you remain in a state of waiting, you are delaying the blessing already prepared. But if you boldly declare that the time has come, you will see reality shift, even when your eyes have not yet caught it. I tell you that receiving the promise is not an accident. It is an act of will. You must declare it in faith. You must act in alignment with that faith. You must walk as though the doors are open. For when you do this, you compel the universe to respond and arrange itself according to what you believe. I know you once doubted. You feared that if you believed and did not see, it would hurt more. but understand that fear is the last chain holding you outside. If you want to break that chain, you need only one decisive step. And when you dare to declare, I have received, when you live as one who already has, the chains will fall from your feet. In vision, I see you like one standing before an open treasure. Inside is everything you prayed for, but if you do not reach in to take it, you will still live as poor, though riches surround you. Therefore, receiving is not about the future. It is about this moment, and the promise is not hanging in the sky. It is within your reach. Remember Abraham? He believed the promise even when hope, according to reason, was gone. And because of that faith, he was called the father of many nations. You are invited to live in the same faith, not a faith based on feeling or circumstance, but a faith anchored in the word inscribed in your soul's record before you entered this world. I need you to see that every small act in your life is a declaration. If you live in fear, you declare that you have not believed. But if you live with confidence that the promise is already yours, you declare that you have received, and that declaration shifts the current of the unseen. I see you clearly like the farmer who has sown enough seed. Sweat and tears have fallen into the ground. And now the harvest is not a distant vision, but before your eyes. You cannot walk away when the harvest is about to ripen. You must remain to reap it. For if you walk away now, all your labor would be wasted. The Spirit does not mock you. He does not give a promise to snatch it away. He gives that you may receive, but to receive you must stand and declare. You must act as one who already possesses. For if you only look at empty hands and sigh, you will miss what is already yours. I tell you, this moment is yours. You have entered the harvest, and the only thing missing is that you open your mouth to speak, open your heart to believe, open your steps to act. For faith is not only a thought, faith must become action, and that action is how you claim the promise as truth. You do not need to wait for more evidence, for the greatest evidence is the faith that has kept you standing until now. And if that faith has carried you through fire, through water, through darkness, that same faith will carry you to fulfillment. And I see in vision that the seed you sowed is ready to sprout beyond what eyes can measure. Not just a few stalks of grain, but a field overflowing. And that harvest will not only feed you, but will feed others through you. That is the promise already inscribed, and you must claim it today. The battle is real, yet the victory is even more real. For the record of heaven already testifies that you are more than a conqueror, not because you fought with perfect strength, but because the one who called you never abandoned you. And though the enemy roared like a lion seeking to devour, his roar could not penetrate the hedge that encircles you. The hedge built not by human hands, but by divine covenant. A covenant sealed with blood that speaks louder than any accusation. Every time he came with his lies, you were met with whispers of truth rising in your heart. Every time he attempted to strike you down, there was a hand lifting you back up. Every moment of despair was countered by unexpected grace. And though you thought you were breaking, in truth you were being remade, shaped into one who carries resilience like armor, one who walks not in the shadow of fear, but in the glow of divine fire. And I see in vision the flame on your life that no storm has been able to extinguish. The same flame that guided Israel by night through the wilderness is the flame that burns upon you. And though the wilderness looked endless, you did not walk abandoned. For Mannakame, water flowed from the rock, and enemies fell not by sword alone, but by the mighty hand of God. This same hand rests upon you, now steady and unshaken, reminding you that no scheme has authority over your destiny. Remember Job, when all seemed stripped away. The adversary thought he had triumphed, but in the end, Job stood vindicated, restored, doubled, and shining brighter than before. So it is with you. For what was meant for your destruction has become the soil of your growth. The more he pressed you, the deeper your roots went. and now your roots are anchored in a rock unmovable, a rock that storms cannot shake and waves cannot drown. I tell you this so you may no longer see yourself as fragile or forgotten, but as chosen, as guarded, as anointed with purpose that stretches beyond what you can yet perceive. You are part of a story that did not begin with your birth and will not end with your breath, for the mark you bear is ancient, set in motion before the foundations of the world, written in the scrolls of eternity where no adversary can erase a single line, and in that record it is written that you will rise, you will overcome, you will stand as a witness that God defends His own. The battle may seem fierce, the nights long, the opposition unrelenting, yet the truth remains that every weapon has failed, every trap has collapsed, every curse is reversed, and the one who sought your downfall has only confirmed your rising. I see him trembling at the realization that nothing he does can separate you from the love that shields you. Nothing he invents can block the purpose set upon you, and nothing he whispers can drown out the voice that calls you beloved, chosen, redeemed, and sealed. And so I speak to you now to walk with renewed boldness, to let your heart be steady like Daniel in the lion's den, where the mouths of predators were shut by unseen hands, to walk like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace where the flames could not consume them, for the presence of a fourth man stood with them. So it is with you. In every furnace you are not alone. In every den you are not abandoned. In every storm you are not lost. For the protection around you is not fragile, but eternal. And when you understand this, you cease to tremble. You cease to doubt. You cease to shrink back. Instead, you rise into the stature you are meant to bear. You become the reminder that faith is stronger than fear, that light is stronger than darkness, that the seal on your life is stronger than every scheme of the pit. Therefore, let your soul not grow weary, for this battle is not the end, but the passage, the refining that proves what was placed within you from the beginning. And when the final chapter is read, it will not speak of defeat, but of triumph, not of collapse, but of endurance, not of fear, but of faith, fulfilled. And you will look back and see that every scar is not a mark of loss, but a testimony of survival. Every tear not wasted, but turned into a stream that waters hope for others. Every night of wrestling transformed into a dawn of clarity, and you will know with unshaken certainty that nothing was able to touch the seal upon your forehead, the seal that says you belong, you are guarded, and you are destined to win. So stand and fight with peace, knowing that victory was never in question. It was written, sealed, and accomplished long before the enemy ever lifted a hand against you. The transformation you're walking in is deeper than a surface change. It is not the polishing of the old self, but the birth of an entirely new being. And this newness is radiant because it flows from the Spirit, who now breathes freely in you. The record of the soul reveals that every layer of heaviness once binding you has been peeled away one by one, until what remains is not a broken fragment, but a whole creation, untouched by the stains of the past. And this wholeness is the reason you now move differently, think differently, speak differently. You are not pretending to be renewed. You are renewed. Your thoughts, once locked in cycles of fear, are now channels of clarity, seeing paths where others see only walls, perceiving possibilities where others feel despair. Your heart, once trembling under shadows, now beats with courage, unafraid to love, unafraid to give, unafraid to stand vulnerable, because you know you are eternally secure. Even your body, though mortal, carries a new vitality, as if every cell has remembered the original light it was created to bear. This is not imagination. This is truth that others around you will see with their own eyes, for radiance cannot be hidden. It leaks through the voice, the touch, the smile. It is not for vanity, but for testimony, a living proof that surrender to God rewrites the very essence of a person. I see and vision that your life is like a lamp, once covered in dust. No one noticed its beauty. No one saw its shine. Yet when the hand of the Spirit wiped it clean, suddenly the light burst forth. And that light was not only enough to illumine your own path, but to illumine those walking in darkness near you. This is your radiance, a radiance not manufactured, but gifted, not earned, but bestowed, and it is meant to be carried boldly, not timidly, for hiding it would be like hiding the sun behind a curtain. You were not reborn to conceal. You were reborn to reveal, and this revelation is not only for your sake, but for the sake of many who will look at you and realize that transformation is possible for them as well. I see people who once ridiculed you, pausing in silence, their laughter swallowed by awe, for they cannot deny the difference. They cannot explain the change. They cannot fit it into natural reasoning. And in their questions lies the seed of their awakening. Your transformation becomes their invitation. Your radiance becomes their roadmap. Do not forget that even the butterfly was once a crawling creature confined to the earth. It did not know its wings were forming in the dark. It only knew the cocoon felt like death. Yet the darkness was not death, but preparation. And when the time arrived, it broke forth with wings carrying colors the earth had not yet seen. So too with you. The darkness you endured was never wasted. It was shaping, pressing, forming something eternal within, so that when the moment of unveiling came, it would be undeniable that this was not human effort, but divine craftsmanship. Your transformation is artistry from heaven itself, brush strokes of grace painting over scars, turning wounds into windows of light. And as others gaze, they will see not you alone, but God reflected, and their hearts will burn with longing for the same touch. I tell you, this is your mission, to live so radiant that your presence itself becomes a sermon, to walk so renewed that no words are needed to explain, because the evidence is written across your being in the way your eyes carry hope, in the way your hands carry gentleness, in the way your voice carries calm, all declaring without speech that God is alive, working, redeeming, and still pouring grace. Therefore, do not shrink from shining. Do not dim yourself out of fear of jealousy or misunderstanding, for light is never meant to negotiate with darkness. It is meant to drive it away. And your very existence as a transformed soul is warfare against despair. Your radiance disrupts the plans of the enemy, because it shows that what he tried to destroy has become even stronger, even more alive, even more beautiful. Do not underestimate this gift, for it is not for your glory, but for his. And when you carry it faithfully, you are fulfilling a role greater than you imagine. Like Esther shining in the palace, not for her own safety, but for the salvation of many. Like Moses, whose face glowed after meeting God on the mountain, frightening even his own people because they could not comprehend the radiance. Like Stephen, whose face shone like an angel even as stones were lifted against him, proving that glory is not dependent on circumstance, but on presence. You carry the same presence. You are walking evidence of that glory. And as you continue to yield to it, the radiance will only increase. It will not fade like earthly beauty. It will deepen like eternal flame. So lift your head, walk boldly, speak with clarity, love without fear. For you are not who you once were. You are a vessel remade, a light rekindled, a life rewritten, and the world will know through you that the God who transforms is still moving, still calling, still renewing, and still shining his light through those who choose to surrender In the record of the soul, I see clearly that the years you thought were delays were in truth a season of training. You passed through days that seemed useless, but in reality, every moment was used to make you steadfast, to teach you patience, to open your eyes to see what would have been missed had it come too soon. And now I tell you the time is complete. The pace is shifting. What once required years now takes only months. What once took months, now only days, and some things now only hours to turn around. I see doors you knocked on many times that never opened, now all swinging wide. I see people of destiny being aligned with your path, not by human arrangement, but by divine orchestration, like scattered pieces now locking into a perfect picture. And you realize that the former delay was not to keep you back, but to ensure you are ready. This is the harvest season, and this harvest is not on ordinary speed. It is shortened by the hand of God, for He saw your faithfulness in the sowing season. He heard your sighs in the nights of waiting. He counted each step you walked in perseverance. And now He commands what was long delayed to accelerate, to compensate, to rush toward you like a flood. In vision, I see a waterfall pouring down, no longer a drip, no longer scattered drops, but a torrent rushing, carrying blessings, opportunities, and connections you once thought unreachable, all happening so fast it leaves you astonished. You are used to waiting, used to calculating each step, but this season does not allow calculation. It forces you to be ready. It forces you to stay flexible, because the rhythm has changed, and if you cling to the old mindset, you will miss what is happening. So release control and walk in trust that this speed is not created by you, but by the one who promised and now fulfills. Remember, Scripture says 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day, meaning that when the time comes, God can accomplish in a moment what humans cannot in a lifetime, and that is the reality you are about to live. Divine acceleration carrying you to places you thought would take a lifetime, and it will happen before your eyes. I see you standing in a golden field, grain bending, heavy for harvest. You no longer need to guard each tender shoot as before. Now you only need to reap, and the bundles pile quickly faster than you can count. This is the clear image of the season you are entering. Do not fear the speed. Do not panic when everything happens quickly, for this quickness is not to confuse you, but to prove this is the work of God, not man. If it came at normal speed, you might think it was your own ability. But when it comes at unexplainable speed, you will know it is grace. I remind you not to look at the delayed years with regret, for all will be repaid, not equal but multiplied. Like a farmer who thought the crop was lost, but then harvest came so bountiful, it erased the memory of failure. So it will be with you. This acceleration will make you forget the pain of waiting. I see destiny partners appearing. They are not from your own plan, but sent at the right moment to lift you, to open doors you could not open. And they come with urgency, like actors waiting behind the curtain, now stepping out together on stage, all arranged perfectly. You once thought you were left behind, but you were being held back to arrive at the right time. For had you come earlier, you would not meet the right people. You would not have the skill. You would not have the patience, but now all is ripe. And so the pace is increased. I tell you, this is not luck. This is the operation of a sacred law. And that law says, he who is faithful in little will be given much. You have been faithful, and now much is coming, not as a trickle, but as a flood. And you must prepare faith large enough not to be swept away, but to stand firm within it. Let faith be your rhythm. For faith is the compass that will guide you in this pace. And as you walk, you will see not only blessings arrive swiftly, but also healing, expansion, and restoration. What once took years to mend will be healed in a day. What once needed years to build will rise in a moment, and that is the sign of the shortened harvest season you have been blessed to receive. But the record of the soul shows that the blessing does not stop there. It goes further. You have also been given authority to impart, and that authority is not an abstract concept, but a sacred power engraved into your soul before you ever entered the flesh. Therefore, the words you speak are not merely sounds in the air, they are summons in the unseen realm. Every sentence spoken with faith and conviction creates vibration, and that vibration opens doors, breaks down walls, awakens dry souls to life again. I see clearly that you carry the power of Ezekiel, who spoke to the valley of dry bones, and they lived. And you too, your voice can stir souls who thought all hope was gone. You can soften hearts once hardened like stone. You can call new life into dreams long dead. And this does not come from human strength, but from the authority granted you from the divine source. When you speak in faith, you are issuing decrees into the atmosphere, and both heaven and hell hear it. Darkness is forced to retreat because it recognizes the seal upon you. Light is magnified because it recognizes the channel is active, and those around you will see change occur not by reason but by invisible power. You are not only a receiver of light, you are placed as a lamp to awaken light in others. Your presence itself is the strongest sermon, and the record shows that you do not need to strive to prove it. As long as you stand firm in your identity, others will be awakened. For light always carries power to spread without explanation. I know there are moments you feel your voice is small. You wonder if what you say has any effect, but I tell you that one word released in divine authority is stronger than 1,000 empty speeches. One simple declaration born of faith can shift atmospheres, break unseen chains, and open paths for many others. You must understand that your impact does not depend on the size of the crowd that hears you. It depends on the quality of the authority you hold, just as David needed only one stone. But that stone carried the power of the anointing, so it is with you. Every word you speak when you know you are chosen carries weight far beyond arguments. In vision, I see ripples going out from you, at first small, but growing stronger as they spread, touching people you never expected. And this is how authority works. Not limited by distance, not stopped by walls, but cutting through barriers and reaching the souls that need it. You may think your influence is invisible, but in the spiritual realm, it is as visible as light blazing in the night. Darkness cannot cover it, and because of this, the hosts of heaven stand with you. I see you like a trumpet blower in the army. Your sound is not for entertainment, but for summons, for command, for signal. And when you lift your voice, even slumbering souls begin to awaken, for you carry within the power to call them out of darkness. Remember, this authority was not given for you to control or to exalt yourself. It was given for you to serve, to become a channel of life, to restore to others the faith they lost. And when you do this, the impact you create does not only change individuals, but shifts communities, shifts the current of an entire generation. I tell you, the light you carry is not meant only for a small room. It is destined to spread across the land, and when you understand this, you will no longer dare to belittle yourself. For every step you walk, every word you speak, every look you give carries influence beyond what you know. You are like a flame in the night, and that flame does not only warm you, but ignites many others. And in vision, I see clearly that you will never know the full number of flames lit from your light. But trust that your impact will endure. Therefore, stand in your authority, open your mouth and declare, believe that your words have power, and let the light you carry awaken light in others. For you have been given not only blessing to receive, but power to impart. And that is what makes you a living witness that God is still working through human lives, and His light has never gone out in this world. When I look back at your entire journey in the record of the soul, I see a picture completed, every fragment, every wound, every turn that once made no sense now fits into a unified flow. And in the stillness of awareness, I realize that nothing was meaningless. Every tear you shed, every battle you faced, every trial that seemed to crush you was in truth the tool of shaping, so that today you stand with a resilience no earthly power could have given. You have gone from darkness to light, from doubt to faith, from falling to rising, and this repetition itself is proof of an eternal law, that the chosen soul is never abandoned but always prepared to step into destiny. I see the change in you is not only shifts in action, but a total rebirth. You have learned to see truth in the storm, to find peace in chaos, to stand firm when all foundations around you shook. And this capacity shows you have reached the maturity of the soul, where you are no longer driven by fear, but led by the inner call. I tell you now, you no longer live only for yourself. You have become a lamp. Your light is not for self-admiration, but to guide souls still stumbling. And when they look at you, they see not only you, they see the divine hand that has worked and is working. This is the deepest resonance I want you to carry, that your existence itself has become testimony. You need no many words. Your very presence speaks the message that faith can overcome fear, that light is greater than darkness, and that God is still performing wonders through human lives. In the crystallization of awareness, I see that you are no longer defined by the past, no longer bound by old wounds. You have learnt that every scar is not shame, but the mark of victory, that every loss was not to bury you, but to raise you. And you have proved this truth with your own life. Remember, you are living evidence that even when a human is pushed to the limit, grace can still set them on their feet. And you are the clear illustration of that truth. I see ahead of you a new road, not groping in doubt, but stepping with certainty, carrying what you have learned to pass on to others. For your journey is not only for you, but for those who will draw strength from your story. In the silence of the Spirit, I hear the strong pulse of your soul. That pulse beats like a summons, declaring you are ready to enter the harvest, the season of abundance, of impact, the season where all that was delayed now accelerates, and you will no longer wait in weariness, for your time has come. I tell you, the most important thing you must hold is the awareness that you are not alone. You have never been alone. Even in the darkest night, there was a hand covering you, and this truth will be your strength in the days ahead. Do not doubt that you are chosen. Do not forget that the untouchable seal has been placed on your forehead, and do not fear when new battles appear, for what you have gone through has trained you for readiness. Let your life continue to be proof, not a testimony of theory, but of lived truth. Let the light within you spread, and remember, you have been blessed not only to receive, but given authority to impart, and your impact will outlast your lifetime, becoming legacy for generations to come. As I close this record, the lingering note in me is not the suffering you endured, but the strength you became. Not the falls you had, but every time you rose. Not the darkness you passed through, but the light you now carry. And this is the deep truth I leave you with, that you have been prepared, you have been transformed, and you have been called to live as living testimony of God in this world.